Chapter 7. The Autobiography of My Heart. Call to recollection both how many things thou hast passed through, and how many things thou hast been able to endure, and how many beautiful things thou hast seen. I come now to one of my choicest adventures while I lay there ill in that high-gabled room. For adventure is not outside a man, it is within. It is a strange thing, once the mind goes free, what may happen to any man. Space and time are both forgot. Lying close in bed, a man can in an instant be walking in his own distant garden, or, stripping away the crowded years, find himself the boy he knew so long ago. What one sees in a hospital, men lying there inert, waiting to live again or to die, is as nothing compared with what goes on there. What adventures all unrecorded, what dramas unacted or tragedies unwept, what secret laughter, what bitter curses, what remorse, what fear, what hope, what hot tears under smarting eyelids, and all covered and concealed from the probings of even the skilfullest of physicians, withheld from the most sympathetic of nurses. To some men, the experience of being thus driven in upon themselves is one of bitterness, even of terror. To others it comes as a fruitful opportunity, for nowhere either with more quiet or more freedom from trouble does a man retire than into his own soul. And some, to whom the experience is at first bitter to the point of being unbearable, are able, presently, to direct their minds so that they have such thoughts that by looking into them, they are immediately in perfect tranquillity. For as this philosopher further remarks, tranquillity is nothing else than the good ordering of the mind. And the renewal comes not alone from reflection upon principles brief and fundamental, but upon free excursions of the mind in all directions, particularly in that strange and vivid reliving, possible to any man, of the most interesting or happiest incidents of his own life, those moments, let us say, that he himself in his inmost thoughts considers best. In my own case, I found it delightful to go back to my youth. I came, indeed, upon the train of adventure I am about to narrate, while I was endeavouring, as I have already related, to recapture the poetry I had known in my boyhood. It had led me naturally to the thought of the tall, dark old bookcase standing atop a secretary that stood in my father's house. It had a carved head of Shakespeare looking down from the pediment above the glass doors. My father was a sturdy old Presbyterian, and there were shelves devoted to Kitto's commentaries on the Bible, Cruden's Concordance, and a volume of Fox's Martyrs that had belonged, I think, to his father, in the horrors of which I thoroughly delighted. And I know not how many volumes of other religious books. But there was also a shelf of Scott's novels, in green cloth binding with a globe on the cover, and Dickens and Shakespeare, and stray volumes of Bulwer Lytton and George Eliot and other Victorian writers. There was a close print Plutarch, bound in leather, which I now have, a prized book, on my shelves, and Pilgrim's Progress, and Don Quixote, and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and Plato's Republic, and a set of ancient classics in English translations, and Byron, and Felicia Hemans, and Martin Tupper. How vividly I remember my father reading in bed, his leonine head propped up on the pillows, a kerosene lamp shaded from his eyes, placed upon his breast, and the book held strongly in one hand, the other steadying the lamp, while he read far along into the night. How eagerly, lying there in that hospital room, I revisited the old black bookcase. I could go there with my eyes shut, open the glass doors, and put my hand on any book in it that I cared for. Not Cruden's Concordance, nor Kitto's commentaries. I opened them now, and from the third shelf in the corner, for it was a shabby book, I took out the volume I was seeking. One of the corners of the binding was bent over, and worn down until the brown board within was plainly visible. It looked as though it had been gnawed. In this old book I found, beginning exactly where I knew it would be on the page, a poem by an author now known not at all as a poet, but as a biographer of Sir Walter Scott. I mean John Gibson Lockhart. In those days, I knew nothing and cared less for the names or accomplishments of authors. Smith was as full of significance for me as Shakespeare. I was intent upon the thing itself. I knew what I wanted. That was literature. All the world of writing else was trash. I have wondered sometimes if I was not a better judge then than I am now. The poem I speak of was from the Spanish Ballads, and at the first lines of it, all my years dropped suddenly away, and I was 14 years old, thrilling again with an experience I shall never forget. My ornaments are arms. My pastime is in war. My bed is cold upon the wold. My lamp yon star. It was in the evening, I remembered, that I first came upon it, and it went straight to my head like some divine intoxicant. After finishing the entire poem in one delicious draught, I shut the book with a snap, seized my cap, and dashed out of the house. A young moon hung in the clear autumn sky. The silence of evening lay deep upon the world. Cool airs had followed the heat of the day. So I walked or ran, chanting to myself, my ornaments are arms, my pastime is in war, my bed is cold upon the wold, my lamp yon star. I don't think I knew what wold meant, but it is one of the charms of poetry, at 14, that you do not understand it all. Worlds thus open to a word, and as I ran, the last verse also I chanted. I ride from land to land, I sail from sea to sea. Some day more kind I fate may find, some night kiss thee. And is not that the beautiful end of adventure at 14? Some night kiss thee? I had not thought of this incident before in years, and it came over me now with a delight that was also full of sadness. Ah, those days beyond renewing, days the prime of love and lovely. It was this incident, and especially the thought of the charm I had found so long ago in the word wold, as it appeared in the verse I have mentioned, that set me thinking one night of the strange love affairs one may have with beautiful or desirable words. So many incidents crowded at once upon me that I began to consider the writing of confessions, like Rousseau, or better yet, a kind of sentimental journey among words, in which, with a total disregard for all the proprieties, and flinging reticence quite to the winds, I should set down my love affairs, how it was that in my travels through the world I met this charmer or that, what it was that caught my wandering fancy, and how it was held. It must, I said to myself with keen joy in the idea, be a new kind of autobiography of the heart.